You were never supposed to hear this, not because it's dangerous, but because it's disruptive. Because if you truly understood what I'm about to say, you'd stop hesitating. You'd stop waiting for permission. And the world around you, the one built on your hesitation, would start to crack. They'd rather keep you distracted than awake, comfortable than alive, busy than effective. They don't want you thinking for yourself. They want you reacting, obeying. But now you're here, and now you're listening. So I'm going to say what they won't. You've been told to chase success like it's outside of you. A job title, a car, a house, a follower count. And that illusion has buried you under distraction and noise. The truth? Success was never something to chase. It's something to embody. And you can't embody anything if your identity is still built on avoidance. You wake up and scroll. You avoid the hard conversation. You overplan and underact. You confuse movement with progress. You call that life? That's maintenance. That's survival disguised as ambition. You keep telling yourself tomorrow you'll get serious. Tomorrow you'll focus. Tomorrow you'll finally act like the version of yourself you admire. But tomorrow isn't a strategy. It's a mask. You wear it to avoid admitting that you're scared of your own power. You don't need more information. You've read the books, watched the videos, written the goals. You don't need more, you need less. Less delay, less pretending, less negotiating with mediocrity as if it's your equal. It's not, it's your poison. You're not overwhelmed. You're undercommitted. You've built an entire routine around escaping your potential, and you call that normal. You live surrounded by options, but still operate like a prisoner. You lock yourself in a cycle of almost, maybes, and when I have time. You're not trapped. You're just comfortable being underwhelming. But comfort doesn't love you. It coddles you into compliance. It rewards you with numbness. And over time, it steals your ability to want more. That's not peace, that's decay. You don't rise by accident. You rise when you confront your patterns with absolute honesty. Not motivation, not hype, truth. The truth is, you've been sedated by convenience, held back by your own tolerance for fine, chained by routines that produce nothing but the same results you claim to hate. And if you won't face that, nothing changes. No planner, no podcast, no accountability app will do the work for you. You've got to wake up different, think different, move different, or stay exactly where you are and quietly admit that comfort matters more than growth. You weren't born to be managed. You weren't built for half effort, half focus, half results. But that's what you've accepted. You've become a professional at acting busy, while your real work, your real mission, collects dust in the back of your mind. You set alarms but hit snooze on your purpose. You check messages but ignore the call within. And then you wonder why nothing feels fulfilling. It's because your habits don't match your vision. You say you want clarity, but you live in distraction. You say you want progress, but you've made a home in hesitation. You weren't born to be managed. You weren't built for half effort, half focus, half results. But that's what you've accepted. You've become a professional at acting busy, while your real work, your real mission, collects dust in the back of your mind. You set alarms, but hit snooze on your purpose. You check messages, but ignore the call within. And then you wonder why nothing feels fulfilling. It's because your habits don't match your vision. You say you want clarity, but you live in distraction. You say you want progress, but you've made a home in hesitation. Let me ask you something. How long are you going to keep lying to yourself? You've gotten good at explaining why you're not ready. But you're not missing readiness, you're missing courage. Courage to act without the full plan. Courage to show up before it's perfect. Courage to outgrow the people who only know the version of you that plays it safe. If you wait for your fears to leave, you'll be waiting forever. They don't vanish. They shrink every time you decide to act in spite of them. And the longer you wait, the more power they have. You want growth? Then stop trying to feel safe all the time. Growth doesn't come with permission slips. It comes from disruption, from internal tension, from that feeling in your chest that says, this isn't who I'm supposed to be. That discomfort, that's not something to escape. It's the exact signal you've been ignoring. You've trained yourself to avoid it, to self-soothe it, to run back to comfort every time the edge gets close. But the edge is where your future lives, and every time you retreat, you lose a part of yourself. You can scroll past this. You can exit this video. You can go back to business as usual. But deep down, you'll know something shifted. You'll know that in this exact moment, you were seen and called out and challenged, not by a stranger, but by the version of yourself that refuses to be buried any longer. The version that knows you were meant for more, not in a dreamy, abstract way, in a real disciplined, specific way. And that version, it's tired of waiting for your permission. You don't rise when it's easy. You rise when your patterns get confronted. When you're so sick of the loop that you finally break it, not with noise, not with drama, but with consistent, boring, relentless self-respect. This isn't about hustle. It's about ownership. And ownership looks like doing what you said you would, even when no one is watching, even when the motivation disappears, even when the results are invisible. You want transformation? Start with consistency, because that's what average can't stomach, and that's what makes you unshakable. You've been told to visualize, to dream bigger, to think positive, but no one told you the truth. That vision without action is just another form of self-deception. You don't need more affirmations. You need confrontation. You need the version of you that doesn't flinch when reality pushes back, because reality will push. It doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't care if you feel ready. It only moves when you do. The law is simple. If you won't claim what's yours, the world gives it to someone else. Every day you hesitate, someone else sharpens their discipline. Every time you scroll for a little more inspiration, you fall one step deeper into avoidance. That's the real trap. Believing that just because you want it, you're working for it. You want to change your life? Then change what you tolerate. Change the way you speak to yourself. Change what you reward. You've been clapping for survival, but survival is not your ceiling. It's your floor. You weren't meant to play catch-up with your own potential. You were meant to set the pace, but pacing takes discipline. It takes saying no to things that feel good in the moment, and yes to things that serve you in the long term. It takes understanding that discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect in motion. Stop asking why it's hard. It's hard because it's meaningful. It's hard because it's working. If you're still chasing easy, you're not chasing purpose. You're chasing escape. This is where most people stop. Right here, right when the shift begins, they feel the discomfort. They get the call, and then they mute it. Not because they're weak, but because they've built their identity around staying small. And growth would mean giving that up. But you didn't make it this far just to abandon yourself now. You're still here, still listening, which means something in you knows this isn't just a video. It's a decision. So ask yourself right now, what part of you are you still protecting? The one that craves validation? The one that fears being misunderstood? The one that's addicted to starting over instead of finishing? You've fed those parts long enough. You've overprotected your limitations like they're sacred. They're not. They're outdated. They don't belong in your next chapter. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You need to stop betraying the self you already know you are. You've been taught to seek balance, but balance isn't the answer when you've spent years tipping toward mediocrity. You don't need balance. You need recalibration. You need to tip the scale entirely toward purpose, toward discipline, toward becoming. Because the truth is, you've been overfed on convenience and starved of responsibility. And no, responsibility isn't heavy. What's heavy is the weight of regret you're dragging around from all the things you didn't finish. You want lightness? Then carry commitment. That's the weight that frees you. Stop romanticizing the idea of becoming better. Start respecting the reality of what it costs. It costs your comfort. It costs your excuses. It costs the parts of your life you built around avoidance. Growth will ask you to leave things behind. Not because they were bad, but because they no longer match who you're choosing to become. And yes, choosing. Because transformation isn't something that happens to you. It's something you walk into with open eyes and no back door. If you're still searching for a way out, you're not ready for the level you keep asking for. Look around. The world doesn't need another passive dreamer. It doesn't need another person taking notes they'll never apply. It needs someone willing to embody what they say they believe. You want to lead? Then lead yourself. Every morning, every hour, every time the distraction shows up and tries to reclaim you. Because make no mistake, distraction is not neutral. It's designed, engineered to pull you back into the soft trap of sameness. And if you keep entertaining it, you're not being pulled, you're participating. You say you want more out of life, then stop spending your days like they don't matter. Stop handing over your mornings to indecision. Stop gifting your nights to screen glow and low-value dopamine. Start owning your time like it belongs to someone with a future worth protecting. Because time isn't your problem. Your problem is how little respect you've shown the minutes you already have. You don't lack hours, you lack direction. And direction doesn't show up, it's chosen. You're not stuck, you're just used to living on autopilot. You've mistaken momentum for meaning, motion for progress, reaction for intention. But that ends here. From this point forward, you move different. You speak different. You look at your habits not as routines to maintain, but as declarations of who you are. Because that's what every action is, a declaration. And whether you like it or not, your life is a living document of what you've tolerated. So the question is simple. What will you tolerate now? Most people will never hear this. Not because they can't, but because they won't. They avoid truth that disrupts their comfort. They avoid voices that challenge their softness. They avoid anything that makes them feel exposed, unprepared, or accountable. But you're still here, and that means something in you is ready. Ready to live without the crutches, without the excuses, without the artificial delay of someday. Because someday is a lie you've told yourself to survive today. You don't get to evolve and stay the same. You don't get to talk about potential while you protect your patterns. You say you're tired, but you're not tired from effort. You're tired from avoiding effort, tired from dragging around half decisions and half-done promises. You're exhausted from standing still while pretending you're moving. And somewhere in you, you know this. That's why you're restless. That's why your peace feels fake. Because it was built on compromise, not alignment. You think discipline will limit you. But the truth is, it's the only thing that ever gave anyone real freedom. Discipline simplifies the noise. It brings clarity where chaos once ruled. It removes the need for willpower because the decision was already made. And yet you resist it, because a part of you still believes you can have success without surrender. Still believes you can upgrade your life without upgrading your character. But the version of you that gets everything you've asked for, that version plays by a different code. And comfort isn't part of it. You've been sold the idea that life should feel balanced, light, and easy. But ease is not always alignment. Sometimes ease is just well-designed avoidance. Real alignment feels demanding, because it requires you to be someone your past self wasn't willing to become. So if you feel pressure right now, good. That's alignment taking root. That's your inner world finally rejecting the version of life you've outgrown. Don't run from that pressure. Learn to stand inside it. Learn to operate in it, because that's where the new version of you is forged. Everything you want is available, but it won't be handed to you. It must be matched by behavior, by character, by standards that don't bend when you're tired, distracted, or emotionally uncomfortable. This isn't about hustling harder. This is about living aligned, even when it's boring, even when it's quiet, even when no one is watching. If you can't be trusted with the unseen moments, you'll never be trusted with the visible ones. The world doesn't reward the loudest. It rewards the most consistent. Most people live their entire lives as a reaction to fear, to failure, to the judgment of others, and they call it a plan. But you've felt it, haven't you? That quiet tug beneath the noise. The part of you that doesn't want to react anymore. The part of you that wants to decide. Not based on fear, not based on what you've been told, but based on something solid, something aligned, something yours. That pull is not a fantasy. It's your future asking you to finally answer. You don't need another opinion. You don't need another sign. You need to trust that the discomfort you feel is not a warning. It's a signal that your old life has nothing left to teach you. A signal that clarity won't come from thinking more, but from committing more. You're not missing insight. You're missing repetition. You're missing the courage to stay with the decision long enough to see the result. Because most people make new decisions, but they never become new people. You've heard everything you need to hear. So now it comes down to one question. What are you going to do about it? You can walk away from this message, back into the same day, the same habits, the same identity, or you can decide that this time you're finished hiding. You can decide that today is the day your discipline becomes louder than your doubts, that your vision becomes louder than your fear, that your character becomes louder than your comfort. You don't need more time. You need more truth. The world doesn't need another half-lived life. It needs someone who doesn't wait to be chosen, who chooses themselves fully, quietly, relentlessly. You don't have to prove anything to anyone, but you do have to prove something to yourself, that you can be trusted, that your words mean something, that your standards weren't just talk, that this time you won't flinch. You've heard the truth. You've been confronted. Now go live like someone they can't ignore. The world makes way for those who dare to rise. Click the Rise button now to subscribe and claim the destiny waiting for you. Your time is now.